It's 12:45 and we're back for our fourth session of today. Good to still have you on board. You're still on the screens, that's nice to see, or you just joined, then welcome to Startup Night 2021. We've heard a lot of topics that have been revolving around hard startup and funding facts, and let's move away from this for a moment and look at a topic that has become one of the major decisive factors on the one hand for customers, but as well as for employees in making a decision for or against the company. It's diversity, and in particular cultural diversity. So it's an overarching topic that has become more than prominent in society and business in the last couple of years. And in our next session, we'll get to know what the benefits of cultural diversity are and why it is so necessarily needed right now in the tech industry. And for that, I would love to join me on stage. Again, from Hubraum, the session will be presented to you by Omiros Grigoreas, the marketing manager from Hubraum. Please join me on stage.
See you, Fabian.
How are you today?
I'm great and really, really excited.
Really excited?
Yes, the next 30 minutes will be awesome.
Nice. So can you give us a little heads up on what exactly we can expect in the next 30 minutes?
Definitely. So it's an interesting fact that for this case, for me personally, there are two things relevant to Two Hearts. On the one side, from the hubraum perspective, we are of course dealing with startups in the tech industry. I think that's the obvious side. And the other one would be, like personally, I am also part of this tech or community because I'm a mentee myself. And what that means, and in general, what Two Hearts can tell you about who they are, what they do, and why cultural diversity is so important is why we have three awesome speakers today here.
So you mentioned Two Hearts. This is going to be our guest today. What do they do?
What do they do? So they started in the beginning of this year, and if I'm not mistaken, they had already more than 800 applications of people who want to join their community, and they offer a mentoring program, and the goal is to combine or to connect people with each other. And as you will see, it's not only about people being culturally diverse, but there are also other important factors playing a role here. And I think this mentoring program and this connecting people and helping to grow together and bring the tech industry to the next level is what they do. And how they exactly do it, that's of course something they have to tell you.
Obviously. So I can see your passion for the topic. What exactly drove you to apply for a menteeship at Two Hearts?
Yeah, so this happened actually by the end of last year, where I met one of the co-founders, and he will be on stage very soon as well, Min-Sung. And he, together with the other co-founders, he told us about the mission of Two Hearts. Mm-hmm. And again, I don't want to spoil it too much, but I immediately, because of myself, of my background and my immigration background, I felt immediately connected and applied, and I'm super glad to have him as a mentor today.
Well, cool. Like the circle closes, we all meet here on the stage. So I leave this to you, and have fun with your session. You guys out there as well. Stay tuned for Omi and Two Hearts. Yeah.
Nope. So building tomorrow's tech society with cultural diversity. We grew up within at least two cultures. We know the clash of cultures. We've been there. We have two hearts, two souls, two cultures. Those are, among others, some of the quotes you can find if you look for the Two Hearts community online. And what they do and why they're here today, that's something they're going to tell us. So please welcome on stage Mey, Ulrike, and Min-Sung. And before we start diving into the topic, it would be great if you could just briefly introduce yourselves, who you are and what you do within Two Hearts and not within Two Hearts. Mey, do you want to start?
Sure. Hi, I'm Mey. I'm an investment manager at Project A Ventures, which is an early stage venture capital fund headquartered in Berlin, but also with offices in London. I'm born and raised in Frankfurt, but spend a lot of my time also in the UK, but my parents are actually both from Turkey, so guest worker child, basically.
Cool, thank you. Ulrike, what about you?
Yeah, I'm leading dentsu in Germany and DACH. Dentsu is a marketing services and digital transformation group. We are one of the globally biggest ones with the Japanese shareholders. I lead 3,000 people in 6 countries, 60 nationalities, so a quite diverse group.
Awesome. Curious to hear more later. Min-Sung, what about you?
Yes, my name is Min-Sung Kim. I don't look like it, but I'm actually German. My parents are from South Korea. I was born in Hamburg. I'm a managing partner at Digital Health Ventures, which is a specialized venture capital fund based in Berlin in what the name says already, in digital health. Thank you for being here.
Awesome. Thank you for your introduction. Min-Sung, I would like to stick with you for the first question. So can you please tell us more about Two Hearts, since you are one of the 4 co-founders? So when exactly did it start? How did it happen? And what is the goal of this community?
Well, first of all, the goal is actually to empower young talent with migration background to enrich Europe's tech economy. So let's put it that way. There are, like for me, for instance, when I was young, I was always looking out for mentors, because my parents, they taught me how to work hard, how to work long hours, to endure. Yeah. But what they didn't taught me was basically how to get access, how to rise above the ranks, how to be, maybe, I don't know, how to play the political game. I mean, I was in corporate funds like Allianz X and Samsung Catalyst Fund, and it was a different game there. Yeah? You could not compensate everything with hard work. So basically give this young people I mean, for instance, 2014, yeah, we won the soccer cup, and it was good to see that the German national soccer team had guys like Boateng in defense, and strikers like Miroslav Klose that were where the parents did not come from Germany. Yeah? So basically enriching and making Germany more competitive. And this is something that lags a little bit, public perception lags in the economy. So when we have like Uhur, the CEO of BioNTech, he was a second or third generation German. He actually put us with BioNTech. He put us right back in terms of life science competitively back on the map. And so this is something, when we know that there are a lot of like people out there in the second and third generation in Germany that want to contribute something to the German or the European tech economy. And that's why we have great mentors and ambassadors like Ulrike that are helping these young people to achieve this goal.
Okay, so you mentioned mentors and young people, and you mentioned second and third generation. And without wanting to attack you, Ulrike, but Ulrike Handel is not the most exotic name on this planet. So how come you are part of this community? And maybe this will also give us an implication of who can be part of it.
Yeah, I'm connected with one of the co-founders and saw what incredible idea was rising. And yeah, you are right. I'm 100% German. I have no immigration background, but 30 years ago, I moved from the south of Germany to the north of Germany, and that felt really like an immigration coming to a new country. I had a slightly funny dialect, was not able to talk in high German, so this was my very first cultural experience. And today, leading more than 60 nationalities, also having a kind of an inclusive atmosphere in our company, and knowing that we are just being successful if we really embrace diversity, and having an Asian chief of staff, I wanted immediately be part of this community, of this movement and of this group, and also share my experience, mentor people, and show them how they can get along. Exactly what you said, Min-Sung.
So this answer actually leads to the next question. You mentioned there are also cultures within one country, but let's maybe talk about, again, not specifically about cultures immediately, but about diversity, because this is a term which has been recently or is still being used so frequently. And I think it's important for the audience to understand what is actually diversity. How can you define it? Are there maybe even different dimensions? Ulrike, would you like to take this?
Yeah, and it's a very fancy word also in the current leadership discussion. I mean, everybody talks about diversity, even if they don't believe in it. For me, leading 3,000 people, different nationalities, diversity is crucial for the success. And I think also the composition of the teams, the diverse composition of the team, is really the base for being really successful and also have a guarantee a fun place of work. So diversity for me is manifold. It's men, women, introvert, extroverts, being different nationalities, different social backgrounds, different skills, Coke Zero, Coke Light, whatever kind of diversity, South German, North German. I have people in the western part of Switzerland and in the eastern part of Switzerland. They're so totally different mentalities. If you really want to grow as a global company, you need to embrace all kind of cultures and mentalities and be open and try to foster an inclusive atmosphere. So here is the corporate animal talking, but I think that's very, very important also in smaller companies, just to be open to other cultures and to other people.
Anything to add, Mey, Min-Sung?
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. I mean, cultural diversity or diversity in general is definitely manifold. It could be gender diversity, nationality. I think another thing that becomes also quite obvious in our industry is kind of the in terms of skills that maybe like university backgrounds, what they studied, and kind of the different paths people have taken in the past that then, for example, leads them into the tech industry. So yeah, it's hard to define, but it's manifold for sure.
Okay, then I would like to ask 2 questions at once, if that's okay, because we now know that obviously there are different dimensions of diversity, and we're focusing on one, on cultural diversity. So the question would be, why did you choose for Two Hearts cultural diversity? So how come it actually was founded, and how come you actually started investing your free time in such a big project? Because I assume your jobs are not too boring. So how come you started bringing this super high motivation to build something from the scratch in your free time? Min-Sung, maybe as a co-founder, you would like to start with this.
Well, I think one of the interesting stories that I have from the United States was basically, a guy, he looked European. He asked me like, hey, where are you from? Are you from Asia? And I'm like, where? But you must be from Europe, right? And he's like, no, I'm from China. And I'm like, he doesn't look Chinese. You don't look like a Chinese person. And he asked me like, where are you from? And I said, I'm from Germany. And then he's like, yeah, you don't look like a typical German. So there are a lot of people in the 800 applications. There are a lot of people that are basically in between chairs. Yeah, they don't know where they fit, because when I go to Korea and I say like, hey, folks, I'm home, they are like, yeah, you're not Korean, you're German to us. But when I come home to Germany and I look into the mirror, I look into an Asian guy. Yeah, and so there are a lot of people like that have basically the same feeling, that are not home here 100%, but also not 100% home in where their parents are from. And so we're giving them kind of like a place, a tech community, like a Slack community, where they can actually exchange each other, help each other out. I think, when we talk about network, when we have these very good schools here, very good universities in Germany, people can reach out to each other, say like, hey, I also studied at that university. Yeah, hey, let's have a coffee or let's talk. Usually, all the people, they are like, yeah, let's do it. And with Two Hearts, we're building a new community for people with migration background that have the same approach. When they say, hey, we're from Two Hearts, do you have time for a coffee? People in our network tend to say, yes, let's meet up for a coffee. And this is so amazing because, our parents taught us hard work again, because that was their belief why they came to a country like Germany, to basically earn money for the families or basically grant a better life for the grandchildren and children. Mm-hmm. And this is something that we can contribute towards the German and European tech economy. Our drive, our hard work, the belief that hard work will get us further. I think this is very, very beautiful, and I think Germany and Europe can basically benefit from it. So basically we are unlocking the power or the potential in the second and third generation to actually contribute towards the German economy. And I think this is very, very powerful. And that's why I think it's very critical these days and also like, when you think about the United States and China, what is the place of Europe? Yeah, this is something that we can unlock to basically find a better position.
So can you maybe tell us a bit more on who actually can apply? Like, how does a typical Two Hearts member, maybe as a mentee or a mentor, actually look like? Or what do you need to be part of this Two Hearts community? Mey?
Generally within Two Hearts, it's a very open community, so we want to keep it very open. Anyone that's kind of interested in this kind of cultural diverse community can definitely contribute in any possible way. Within the mentorship scheme, we have it somehow twofold. So we have within the mentors, for example, it's very experienced people from the tech community, former founders, investors, or people from, I don't know, partners at consultancy firms, et cetera, that just want to basically contribute to the community and give access to themselves and their knowledge and their experience. And then on the other side, on the mentee side, we usually have young professionals or people just out of university, or people also sometimes in university that are interested in the tech community, that are just lacking this access. So I guess that kind of goes back to what Min-Sung said earlier. When we initially started with Two Hearts and kind of the initial conversations we had, it was full of those anecdotes, you know, where people just made very clear the situation of being in between chairs. And I think there's so many people in Germany or generally in Europe that feel the same way. And oftentimes especially within tech or like the tech ecosystem in Europe, the networks are pretty opaque and not easily accessible from people from the outside, especially if you haven't been to a particular business school, come from a particular place in Germany, but are very talented and are driven as well. So the idea is basically to create a network where people that typically don't really have access just to these people, these like senior people, to, for example, just have the opportunity to send them a Slack message and say, hey, can I ask you a question? Can I get your opinion on one particular thing? And I think that already is a huge leverage. And that's also why we decided to focus on cultural diversity, just because we kind of, as a relatively diverse group, right, have most of the leverage in that particular space.
Cool. Maybe let's tackle the title of this session, like why it leads to more success. Can you tell us more about maybe some evidence from your personal, private, or professional lives that can prove that actually cultural diversity is leading to more success? Maybe Ulrike.
So regarding studies, I think the topic is still undervalued. So there are much more gender diversity studies than cultural diversity studies. But looking at simply my company, we are a people's business. We are growing like hell. So if we are not able to attract us cultural diverse people, we are just not growing. So that's just the corporate perspective. And if we are not able to integrate everybody, or to have a kind of an inclusive atmosphere, a good culture based on trust and respect, that's also a problem. On the other side, we are working for clients. Our clients have a cultural diverse leadership team also. So if we meet our clients and we come with just, let's say, white men in the 50s, and on the other side they are young people with a diverse cultural background, that doesn't fit. So I think society is changing, and we also need to change. And I just can't let go this very, very valuable, let's say, the cultural talents, because mostly in my personal experience, and it's also the experience of one of my closest colleagues, my chief of staff, who has come from Vietnam. He is more clever than we all together, but he is very quiet. So we are always working to him to speak up, because obviously, probably this might be an Asian mentality, not be so as loud as the others. So, and I really need to make sure, and I think we all need to make sure to bring all mentalities and also all nationalities together to be able to speak up and to really bring the value to the table. And that's my deepest interest also.
I think, like, you know, I mean, Mey, please feel free to jump in. I think, like, when it comes to investment processes, when you invest into companies, everybody has a confirmation bias. Yeah? Everybody is more, let's say, making the decision with the help of their instinct and with their intuition. And this is how we function. Yeah. And the thing is, like, because we have that confirmation bias, it's good to have a set of diverse people to make the right decision to get to the truth. Yeah. Is this a good investment or is it a bad investment for us? Yeah. I think this is something that is enhancing the investment decision in our ICs pretty much.
Totally agree with that. I think generally the more diverse opinions you have in a room on, for example, an investment case, the better usually the investment decision is, because people have different experiences and, you know, have anecdotes and have just seen different things. So it ultimately makes the investment decision better, I'm sure.
Yeah, because different arguments came to the table. Yeah? Because because we do decide intuitively and try to rationalize it to convince the other people around us in the community. And I think this is something very, very difficult to, how to call that, when you have like so many people that are like-minded they agree on everything. Yeah? And then it's difficult to dig to the ground and actually find the truth. Is it a good or a bad investment?
Okay, awesome. And this again leads to the next important question. So now I think it's pretty obvious why it is important, but you know, in the end we need the deliverable. So what can we share with the audience? How can I actually foster cultural diversity as a startup, as a company? What can people do to set the focus on this topic? Let's talk maybe specifically about hiring, for example. Like, just assume the scenario, you have one job and there are 2 or maybe even more candidates applying for the same job, and their profile is, let's say, 95, 98% super similar, and the only difference is maybe this diversity aspect. What do you do?
Maybe I
Mey.
can start here. So I guess previously stated before, the tech ecosystem, or just like startups and VCs, it's a bit of a bubble, right? So it's very easy. If you have an opening in any sort, it's very easy to tap into your existing network of people that you know, that fit the job description, that you can very easily hire, that will most likely mentally and like from a background perspective will be very complementary to you. So it's very easy to do that. But I think it definitely starts with hiring, right? So for example, what we did at our company when we started hiring, we very consciously made the decision of where to hire. So who gets to see the job posting if there's any? It's very easy to say, okay, hey, do you know someone, you know, who'd be interested in this position from someone that you have on WhatsApp, for example. We didn't do that, right? We added other like channels, other Slack communities, be it like women in VC Slack community. There is like Asian tech community in London where we checked different types of universities, especially kind of the ones that are more like scientific universities within Europe, where we kind of created the job postings rather than just tapping into the existing network. And another thing that people have started doing is kind of when it comes to the initial application process where you get all the CVs, kind of cancel the whole CV process. A few VCs that I've heard of, for example, they start with the candidates only answering like short answer questions. So they get questions on investment decisions or markets, etc., and they're supposed to just rationalize things and give their opinion without stating what university they went to, what name they have, where they come from, etc. And I think there's all these like little tools that you can use in the very early stages of the hiring process in order to mitigate any kind of bias.
It's really tough to say, but I have to interrupt you here because the time is already over, even though we could move on forever. So thank you for being here today. And to the audience, the only thing I can share would be, do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you want to get in touch with the speakers, with hubraum? Feel free to do so and share your opinion. Thank you for being here and hope to see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.